She's funny and she's sassy. She's raunchy but still keeps it classy. And she's making new friends from coast to coast. That's Mulva Rose.
Oh, darlings, you look so beautiful today. And I'm just honored to be here with you. Surely you all know who I am, right? Mulva Rose. It's me, the host of the Mulva Rose Show, of course. Surely you recognize me from my days as a pinup? No? Come on. Some of you look old enough to remember when I was Mr. Punchline. I took rewards all over the country. Oh, dear golly. Miss McCosey, who are these people who look at me like they just woke up? Are they not woke? I thought they were woke. All right, well, you know what? We're just going to assume that you're going to Google me or DuckDuckGo me or do something because you know Mulva Rose. But what I was doing this afternoon that I was so delighted I wanted to share with you, I was reading this fascinating book. Have you heard of this book? It's called Drive Thru Deception. And it is written by a little spitfire named Laurie Ayers. I believe she's from the United States of America. Have you heard of her? Look at her little photo. She's just a little redhead ginger. Isn't she adorable? Oh, I feel like I have been able to channel her, and I have got such great information that I want to share with you guys today about deception. I fancy myself as a bit of an expert now that I have read her book. I'm sorry. I'm just trying to see who might be lying here. Who might have the look of deception? Oh, Erica's hiding. Anita is hiding. So probably I'm going to surmise that they are lying. Lynn, you look very honest right now. But may I indulge you and just talk to you a little bit about what I've learned from this book? When I first heard about this Laurie Ayers, I believed we were having a repartee at the theater. No, actually, she was on a radio interview and she was talking about being on the Tinder, I'm not sure how you all say it there, in the Tinder app. And she was saying that she stopped telling people that she was a lie detector because she couldn't fancy any dates. No gentleman callers wanted to attend her being this lie detector. So hold on. She told people that she sold candles for a network marketing company. Can you believe it? Smell the smells, host a party. She said that's how she fancied that she started to get dates. And, you know, the way she explained it, if I recall correctly, she said something to the effect of, yeah, I told them that I sold candles because if they were scrolling through and they saw, you know, this cute little redhead and they'd say, oh, yes, of course. And she's a business owner and she's an empty nester and she's a lie detector? Swipe left, I'm out. Oh, dear. Cindy, can you explain it to Val? She's not sure what left is. What's left? What's left? What's left? What's left? Jolly good idea. What's left.com would be a great website for the senior folks, don't you think? What's left.com. I would like you to pay attention up here because I think some of you are looking at the GoDaddy right now, the cheap names to see if that's available. What's left.com senior dating site. Perhaps you could look into that endeavor later. I thought it was rather amazing. So if I may, I would like to tell you a few things that I have learned from this book that I wanted to share. And if you don't mind, I took a few notes because I want to make sure I point out the very important parts because you say you're going to read the book, but some of you are lying. I can tell. All right, so actually, if it's all the same to you, I would like to try and just channel Laurie Ayers for a minute. And I've been practicing to use it in her voice, just so I can share with you. I'm going to pretend. So if we just have a moment, and I will see if we can bring Laurie forward, and all right, I'll do the best I can to talk with the American accent. All right, so what she does is she is a lie detector that works in statement analysis. Fancy words. Oh, how am I doing so far? How's my voice? Pretty good, huh? Jolly good day. So statement analysis is based on words, what people say. It's different than body language, because with body language, it's somewhat subjective. One small example of that is if your arms are crossed in front of you, you must be upset. You must be shut off. You must be, oh, but maybe you're cold. Maybe you just had surgery. Who knows, right? So body language is very subjective. But with statement analysis, it's a whole science behind it, and it is based on the words that people say. So when people say it's not what you say, it's what you do, actually it is what you say, because your deception will leak out. And it's quite interesting. For example, let me give you some real examples here. When you are trying to determine if somebody's telling you the truth, instead of asking a question, use a statement that ends with a period. So instead of saying, what happened to, let's say you're at work and there's maybe some money missing. Instead of saying, what happened to the money, you would say, tell me about this missing money. Tell me about. So you're giving them a command, because what you want to do is you want to get them talking. The more words they use, the more that they will be able to leak. So remember, and when you ask questions, you're really making it a statement. If some of you remember in school when you had to write papers and it had to be balanced with an introduction and a body and a conclusion. The same is true when somebody's telling you a statement about something that happened. It should be fairly balanced. It's not necessarily 25, 50, 25, but in deceptive stories, what you're going to find most often is that people will say a long lead in. They want to put all the details in, and probably too many details, and want to make sure that they get all their story in. But then when it comes time for the lie to jump in there, whoop, they have a hard time actually swallowing it. So they want to just whoop, finish it real. So if the lead in is real long, and then all of a sudden it ends abruptly. Now, again, some of these things are not, I'm sorry, I'm trying to think what Laurie was saying in her book. Damn, I keep going back and forth with split personalities. But what she was saying was that her book does not say you are lying. Mulva says you are lying. But this is red flags. It shows you things to pay attention to. All right, so yeah, Mulva was quite right about that. It does. It doesn't necessarily mean somebody's lying. It means pay attention, dig deeper, because there might be something in there that you want to find out a little bit more. You want to ask a few more probing questions. So you got the balance. How about no? When you ask somebody a question and they say no, that they're probably telling the truth, because honest people have a hard time saying no. Oh my heavens, there is a beast knocking at the door. Do you hear that? We're just going to pretend there's no beast here. Oh, heavens to Betsy. All right, so if they say, sometimes the denial only sounds like a denial. Did you do this? I would never do that. No, you didn't say no. You actually want to hear no. What, are you crazy? Why are you asking me that? I would never do that. I could never do that. I'm innocent. Okay, now if they say I'm innocent, they're actually talking about the conclusion. Like even in a court case, I will be innocent, but they never say I didn't do it. So you want to listen carefully that people say, no, I did not do this. And I never did that. No, you didn't say, did you ever? That's not the question you asked. You asked the question, did you do it? So the whole point of this is that you really need to start listening differently to people. And then all of a sudden your ears are going to start tuning into stuff you never even heard before. All I can tell you, that doesn't mean the whole thing. That just means all I can tell you. All I can tell you is that Kelly's going to have a guest. She didn't tell you who, right? That doesn't mean she didn't know. It's all I can tell you. Well, I don't really know what happened for sure. for sure, okay? But they know something. So the whole point of what we go over in this book is that there are different words and phrases that you can listen to, and all of a sudden you will start listening entirely differently. Oh, here's a good one. You want to ask them, what do you think should happen to, somebody who's cheating, somebody who stole, whatever. What do you think should happen? Hold, please, just a moment. Mulva is a little thirsty. Sip 'em if you got 'em, everybody. Sip 'em if you got 'em. So you go ahead and you ask them, I'm sorry, I want to see what time it is because you brilliant people are on a tight schedule today. Chop, 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 keep going. So what do you think should happen? Now, if the answer is, it's probably an honest mistake, and I think maybe you should have a talk with them, and hopefully it won't happen again. They probably did it. That's why they want the punishment to be lenient. But if you say, what do you think should happen to, and they say, hang them by their junk, or prosecute to the fullest extent of the law, or they should be thrown in jail, then they're probably being honest and they didn't do it because they wouldn't ask for that punishment on themselves. Lack of pronouns. Sometimes when somebody is not being truthful, they have a hard time putting themselves in the story. So they won't say, when you say, where were you Friday? Went out for a drink with the gang. Went out for the drink. Who? They don't want to say, I went out for a drink. I called your phone and you didn't answer. What was happening? Battery's dead. If they just stop pulling I out, if they can't say I, pay attention. There's a reason that they are not putting themselves in that story. There is no one indication of lying. You can't say, aha, you said this, so therefore you're lying. It needs to be taken in context. It needs to be a whole bunch of stories. And don't forget this thing, you've got your gut. You know when something's not right. All that this does, all the statement analysis does is actually confirm what you may already be suspecting. So you want to just listen differently and then maybe ask follow-up questions. If they say I versus you, what happened on that cruise, you don't want to go through that. You wouldn't want anybody to go through that. But if you're telling a story about you, if you're trying to explain that something happened on a cruise to you, you would say, what happened on that cruise, I don't ever want anyone to go through that. I don't ever want to have to experience that again. So I versus you. Just start listening a little bit differently. This one, now this one always comes up. I always get emails after this. I'm sorry, Mulva is a justy girl today. Belvedere, I just love them. Speaking of which, sorry, I've had a little bit of Belvedere this afternoon. Why don't we just take a moment and you all tell me your greatest lie? Tell me your deepest, darkest secret, the biggest thing that you've ever lied about and you've never told anybody. Tell us all. Want to? Maybe Kelly can unmute everybody. I will begin. I'll tell a lie. I know, hard to believe. But when I was in primary school, I believe it was, some of you look old enough to remember? Let me look. Who might be old enough? I believe our beautiful host, Kelly, might be old enough for certain. The Americas had a show that starred Scott Baio. Does anybody remember Scott Baio? He was on the Happy Days show. Well, I had the vapors when it came to Scott Baio, and I actually cut out a photograph and carried it to my knapsack of him, and I cut out his head, and I put it on a body of somebody in the magazine, and I told my mates that he was my boyfriend. I was not telling the truth. But they said, no, you dork, that's not your boyfriend. I'm like, oh, yes, we're in a long-distance relationship. And what actually happened is they said, no, that's Chachi, and he loves Joni. So that's not your boyfriend. Miss Mulva lied. Okay, who would like to go next and tell me your deepest, darkest secret? Who lied? Who lied? Oh, Jody is hiding. Maybe it's behind you. Okay, let's continue on. I swear to God. In fact, to tell the truth, all of those statements generally are a sign of you're trying to boost your credibility. I swear to God. In fact, well, to tell you the truth, I do drink Belvedere. But here's the but, and it's a big but. I like big butts and I cannot lie. If you usually say that, that doesn't mean you always lie. Well, unless you do. But here's the point. You need to have a baseline. You're looking for a change in baseline. If you have somebody who always says, in fact, in fact, in fact, and actually you know that person and you know they're pretty straight shooter, they probably are. It's when you're talking to them and all of a sudden they say, to tell you the truth, honestly, frankly, any of those, they think it makes them sound more credible, but it works boop, in reverse. So those are big flags. If you're not even listening, if you're Lynn, how in the world did you go from here to there? Is this group one of those outer world things or something? How did you get way over there? Are you a hologram or were you teleported? Amazing. That is just shocking. Just shocking. Do you hear the beast? I hear the beast. All right, when somebody's telling a story and they say, darn, you know, my handmaiden is not available to take calls for me today. Do you have a handmaiden? I love my handmaiden. She's just awesome. My handmaiden's name is Abigail. What's yours? Oh, pity, you're muted. All right, so they're telling a story, and then all of a sudden, the next thing I know, listen for those phrases. All of a sudden, the next thing I know, what they're doing is they're skipping over a chunk of time. Something happened. We were on the beach and then all of a sudden he had me on the ground. Back up. I think you're missing a few details. All of a sudden, next thing I know, any of those phrases, that's telling you that there is something that they don't want you to know. We already talked about denials. I would never do that. I could never do that. Here's a good one. Started. He started to. And in this Me Too movement, and I always have to give you the caveat, Me Too movements, I am support 100% that if somebody did what they're accused of, they need to pay for it and pay for it big time, no exceptions. But there, let's be real, there's a lot of people who want to jump on this Me Too movement and they falsely accuse people and they have ruined people's lives because of it. So whenever it comes up in the news or media or somebody's like, oh, been accused or sexually accused, well, of course you have to keep an open mind. But when they say something to the fact of he started to do this, and it could be she, he, she, you know, I'm just generally saying that the statement, he started to do this. He started to put his hand up my skirt. He started to feel me up. He started to sniff my hair. He started to, whatever he started to do, you want to hear, and then what? He started to put his hand up my skirt and I pushed him away. And then I said, what H are you doing? And then what? But if there is no and then what, then that's a real good indication that's not a credible statement. Just because somebody started to do something, there's always something follow-up, even if he was not successful in his aim. So whenever somebody's starting to do something, and then what? Couple of more, and then I'm going to just wrap this up a little bit. Linear versus zigzag. When you tell a story, and I believe that today's broadcast is a perfect example how we kind of go all over the place, right? Isn't that how our mind works? Oh, I just love it, love it, love it, love it. So yeah, so your mind goes all over the place. That's pretty much how a lot of our minds work, and especially when we have a lot on our mind, we're all over the place. But if somebody's telling you a story and it's linear, we did this and this and this and this and this and this, boom. They may have memorized it. Because what usually will happen is we went here, oh, and then I forgot to tell you, oh my goodness, it was raining so hard that day. And then we blah, 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 blah. Oh, let me back up. So lunch, the waitress at lunch, you know, you kind of tell stories as it comes into your mind if it's based on memory. If it's based on fabrication, you haven't memorized. And just because something's linear, that may just be somebody how they are very cut and dry story and tell them. But if you suspect it's not credible, ask them to tell you what happened in reverse order, because they'll memorize their story frontwards, but not backwards. I mean, think about it, a police stop for somebody who's been drinking, and they'll say the alphabet backwards. And then what do they always say? Oh, I can't even say that when I'm sober. So people don't know how to rehearse backwards. Or if you want to be a good liar, practice your story backwards, just in case. Cognitive load. Okay, here's a good one. Cognitive load is you're thinking about a lot of stuff. Sometimes people probably have said, why do you look so angry? And why do you look so upset? And you're just like, well, I'm thinking. That's my think face. I'm not mad, I'm thinking. So if you have a lot going on in your mind. But if you're trying to have a discussion with somebody and you think that they're being, if they're lying, wait till they do something. Could be typing, could be pouring coffee, could be having a sip of their favorite beverage. Because if you have that much cognitive load, which means you are thinking, you are trying to remember your story, you're trying to remember your lie, it's going to be almost impossible to keep doing something kinetic with your hands at the same time. But think about how much you guys multitask and how much that you'll be on the phone and you're typing and the messages are blinking. You can do all of that. You can keep doing if you're being straight up. If you have no reason to be deceptive, you can multitask very easily. And that's just something that we are able to do as successful, beautiful people. But if you can't, if you're at work and you want to ask somebody and they're pouring coffee and then all of a sudden the coffee just stops or they stop and it's like they're not giving you necessarily undivided attention, it means I have to keep thinking and I can't think about both of these at the same time. I love that one because they have no idea. Trying, I get 2 more things and then I'm going to be done here, I believe, because I don't want you guys to have overload. Trying is a little bit like starting. Trying basically means you didn't do it. You're trying to do something or you did it. It's kind of like saying, I tried to leave a message. What the heck does that even mean? You left a message or you didn't? You may have tried to reach somebody and then I left a message. I tried to call and got voicemail, but I tried to do this means I didn't do it. Did you do your homework? I'm trying. Nope, that means you didn't do it. So, and then the last point I just wanted to bring up was lie. When we talk about lie, what's a lie? There's really no one universal definition. The one that Laurie likes to use and that she has brought. How am I doing with Laurie's voice? Quite good. I've been practicing. So what she talks about in her book, the definition that she likes to use is a lie is an intent to mislead without prior permission. So let's break that down a little bit. Break it down, break it down, break it down. So an attempt to mislead. What if somebody says, I didn't tell a lie, I just left some details out? Well, you left the details out because you attempted to mislead. So a lie can be either through fabrication, something that you said, but more often than not, because it's too hard to remember, deception is by omission. So if you intentionally either did a word dance, you put your sentence in a certain order and hope that they would come up with, I didn't say that, she just assumed that's what I was saying. So a lie is an attempt to mislead, but the second part of that is without prior permission, which sounds kind of weird, but if you think about it, what do actors and actresses do? They lie to us all the time. That's not really a lie because we've given them permission. Some people say poker players or car salesmen. It's kind of like, okay, they're probably not going to be real straight up. So you've kind of given them prior permission. And then the last instance where sometimes you see the prior permission is in a relationship where there's infidelity. Sometimes it's this, right? I don't want to address this. If I bring it up, then there's going to have to be a divorce, and then there's going to be custody cases, and it's going to get ugly, and I'm going to be by myself. And so we're just going to kind of pretend it's not really happening. So in essence, you have given that cheating spouse permission So that is the definition of a lie. So that was the book that I wanted to talk to you about. I am quite pleased with my accent of the Americans. I think you will believe I did quite well. I did notice, though, I believe Erica and Anita, who are not showing their faces, I believe you are either looking for whatsleft.com and you've already set up a business, or you've been Googling me at mulvarose.com. Haven't you, Erica and Anita, whose faces I cannot